lunatic. Cause in society, they label me a threat. But I'm just getting started, I'm not finished yet. Look me in my eyes, I can see your thoughts. All your ups and downs, all your little faults. Keep acting tough, it's gonna get creepy. All of a sudden you start to feel sleepy. But in these streets when you doze off, you wake up with your clothes off. Ashamed, feeling so lost, whoa. You see my crew, you know my style. Victory is mine, you're going down. Cause in society, they label me a threat. But I'm just getting started, I'm not finished yet. Look me in my eyes, I can see your thoughts. All your ups and downs, all your little faults. Keep acting tough, it's gonna get creepy. All of a sudden you start to feel sleepy. But in these streets when you doze off, you wake up with your clothes off. Ashamed, feeling so lost, whoa. You see my crew, you know my style. Victory is mine, you're going down. Over the fence, run under the bed, get down the block, but you can't hide. You can stay at your friends, sleep in your beds, free from your sins, but you can't hide. We get it poppin', baby. We give it to them, daddy. Yeah, 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 yeah. Now make noise. Yeah, we make noise. Yeah, yeah, make noise.
Good afternoon. It is another delightful day to run through another episode of the Ellen Carrington Show. Getting a little started today. Had some things to do, but I wasn't originally going to have a show today. But as they say in wrestling, card is subject to change. Well, this card changed. I got done earlier than I thought with the commitment I had earlier today, so here we are broadcasting live from East Pittsburgh on a beautiful first day of May. It's 75 degrees, the sun is shining, the birds are singing, and the dandelions are popping up, among other things. As for tomorrow's show, it's still set. However, it looks like to be another busy day for me at hand. And if we don't broadcast at the 2 o'clock time, as we usually do, I'll either move the show to 8 o'clock tomorrow night or maybe bump it to Friday. I'm going to see how things work out tomorrow as a whole first before I make a final decision. But in any case, whenever I decide, I'll pop it on the show wall here and I'll pop it up on Facebook. Some great news for us Pittsburghers this coming weekend. Kennywood is going to be open for the season on May 4th. If you haven't got your pass or whatever, get it now. Pirates will be playing at PNC Park all weekend. There's some good promotions going on there. And, of course, the Pittsburgh Marathon takes place on Sunday, May 5th. Weather is set to be perfect for all 3 days, so get out there and enjoy it. I'd also like to take the time to wish best of luck to all the marathon participants and to stay safe. Hey, maybe somebody from Pittsburgh would win this year. That would be great. And while we're discussing running, as we have at the top of the hour, in case those in Pittsburgh haven't heard the unfortunate news by now, the annual Rock and Roll Half Marathon, which was set to take place on August 3rd, has been postponed until sometime in 2014. Apparently, the event organizers are no longer able to put everything together without support from the mayor's office, the director of public safety, and the special events committee. Personally, I don't have any further details, but the Rock and Roll Half Marathon does have a website with contact information for any additional questions, and there's also instructions on how participants who wanted to run this year, you can get refunds for any fees paid. You can go on the website for that. I'll pop up the link at the end of the show. And hopefully nobody's eating while I talk about this, but if you have ground turkey in your refrigerator or freezer, this may be of interest. According to Consumer Reports, 257 samples of ground turkey were tested, and more than half of those samples were found to contain fecal bacteria. Gross! Well, that's not the worst of it, ladies and gentlemen. 90% of those samples were contaminated with one or more types of disease-causing organisms, many which are antibiotic resistant. Isn't that lovely news? You can read the entire article on the Consumer Reports site, and I'll also pop up that link on our show wall and Facebook page. This is kind of an eye-opener for me since I've used ground turkey quite often in many of my recipes, including turkey chili, a personal favorite of mine in the wintertime. But of course, with any meat product, if you have this stuff, it's suggested you cook the ground turkey to at least 165 degrees. If you're like me and don't have a meat thermometer, well, excuse me, just make sure it's cooked thoroughly both inside and out to kill any and all bacteria. Hey, if you got to burn the stuff, you want to kill the cooties, that's the way to do it. We don't want anybody getting sick off ground turkey, heaven forbid. And the meow takes us to the top of the hour, which is now 3 o'clock Eastern Time in East Pittsburgh area. And more news on a subject of tainted food, and hopefully nobody's drinking orange juice while I'm talking about this. A California woman has been charged with attempted murder. She's accused of adding lethal doses of all things, rubbing alcohol to 2 bottles of orange juice, and then she put them into a refrigerated display at a Starbucks in San Jose, California. Oh, this is really crazy, isn't it? Yep, there's all kind of nuts out there. But this woman was arrested on Monday after another customer witnessed her removing the tainted bottles from the bag and placing them in the display case. Hey, if this isn't one for the dumb criminals file, what is, right? Anyway, this customer was quite diligent. They not only reported the incident to Starbucks employees, but they also got the license number of the perpetrator, which police were able to trace back to them. Isn't that cool? There's no reports of any other poison bottles being planted anywhere else, thank goodness. Guess we're not just safe anywhere these days, are we? First we had the crazies of the Boston Marathon, now we got another nut in California poisoning orange juice and sticking it in the Starbucks display cases. Kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? You can't be safe anywhere. Kind of makes you wonder, well, should I buy any ground turkey or orange juice? Well, you know, that's a chance you got to take, I suppose, but it's a crazy world out there, people, so be careful. But in the process, since I may have put anybody off their late lunch or early dinner or snack time or tea, whatever what part of the world you call it, my apologies for that. But it's time to move on to some happier and topics far less gross. Did you hear about this? Fashion retailer H&M. They're getting plenty of attention after featuring a swimwear model on their website. Hang on, she happens to be plus size. She's a bigger girl, got some curves on her, looks very good in fact. And I'm a straight female. Now, I kind of like the looks of her. But, you know, in a time where women have to deal with pressure from both the media and society, you're worth nothing if you're not at least a size 2, at maximum. I'm sorry, people. You know, I've been working on getting some weight off, but the closest I'm going is a 12. Maybe a 10, but that's pushing it. You know, I always say, the hell with society, whatever makes you happy, that's your size. If you're happy at an 18, by God, wear an 18. But getting back to this, H&M featuring Jenny Runk, that's the model. She's a breath of fresh air, not to mention getting plenty of kudos from size-friendly communities. And like I said, I'm quite pleased to see this. I don't know, if H&M intended to put Jenny on the front page, or it just came up as something from the ad agency, but they're certainly not going to get any complaints from this department. On a side note, Huffington Post has a great article about Jenny Runk modeling their standard size beachwear, and this lady, as I said earlier, she's just stunning, but that's my opinion, you know. Hey, if she's too fat for another guy, you know what? Look the other way. I'd probably go gay for this gal for, that's just one of many. But another article I read earlier this week when it comes to great things, this came from a blogger who posted her opinion about the best supporting acts in World Wrestling Entertainment. And the article the blogger wrote about, it covered a few good names of people working behind the scenes. And I was also very pleased to read something like this because, you know, whether it's wrestling, any other kind of sport, music, movies, you know, live theater productions, whatever, people who work behind the scenes of what we see and what we hear for entertainment, they don't always get the recognition they deserve. You know, and these guys work pretty hard. They're key people who do everything from make the stars look good on the red carpet. They put together the top quality shows. They make sure everything's timed and right. And these jobs behind the scene are far more difficult than they appear. But this is one article I recommend reading. You'll recognize probably a few familiar names if you're in the whole wrestling kaboom. And I'll post that page's link as well. Hey, here's a good one. I heard about this morning, and wow, if you're into the technology stuff, you'll love this. Do you remember when the original iPhone debuted in 2007 was dubbed the Jesus phone? 6 years after hitting the market and changing how we use cell phones forever, you know, as you like, hey, mini computer, we can get on the internet just by using your phone. It's great. But the first iPhone that came out in 2007, it's going to be considered obsolete by Apple as of June 11th of this year. Yeah, next month. And Apple has already discontinued hardware for the original iPhone and other products they consider quote-unquote vintage, with a few exceptions. And the article I recommend for that about the first iPhone's upcoming obsolete status is on a site called 925mac.com. I'll post the full link, of course. And wow. And there's even a thing about where they're talking about maybe desktop computers becoming obsolete maybe in another decade. Well, we'll see about that. I kind of like desktops because it's better for me to do my manuscripts on. My current computer, which I bought in August, has a 23-inch screen. And it helps me see a lot better when I'm doing my manuscripts. And it helps, too, when I do the show. But, you know, people like their laptops and their tablets and smartphones, of course. I mean, who doesn't? I have a little netbook, but, you know, like I said, it's easier for me to see my 23-inch screen on my desktop than it is to maneuver on the little netbook that I have. Even the keys to my desktop are bigger. This is what happens when you get older, people. You lose your sight, and, you know, everything goes to pot. But keep a positive attitude. Things could be worse. But speaking of things that are on my mind, there's something I like to share, and this is a very serious situation, ladies and gentlemen. It's caused me a lot of concern. If you listened to last Thursday's episode of the show, one of the things I talked about was telling the difference between an imposter celebrity social network page and an authentic one. And with this in mind, I have a Facebook friend who is in the early 20s. I'm not going to mention any names or their exact age or their location because I don't want to embarrass them. And although I like to embarrass the imposter, but you know, that's not how I roll. You know, I'm just going to talk about this in general terms. But this person in the early 20s appears to be taken in by such an imposter. Now, come on, before anyone assumes this is a jealousy issue on my part, let me tell you folks, that's not the case. First of all, I definitely know this celebrity page in question on Facebook, with whom my Facebook friend has been communicating with, is definitely an imposter. There's no question about it. Not only has the actual celebrity stated in past Twitter posts that they are only on Twitter and any and all MySpaces, Facebooks, and other social network pages with their names are not them. And second part is this particular profile on Facebook with whom my friend communicates, it lists both outdated and incorrect information, and there's pictures on there that are at least 15 or 20 years old. Now come on, I did add this page, okay? But see, I like to add imposters just to mess with them and to keep track of them to see just how much they really know. And some of them are just so easy to bust. I may not call them out on it right away, but I know. But anyway, excuse me, most who have followed this person's career for at least the last decade would be able to spot this within seconds. Especially if they knew what they were looking for to begin with, like I do. First I wanted to give the benefit of the doubt, thinking maybe this page was either a fan page. Like I said, I told you the difference on last week's show, what the difference between fan page and an actual celebrities page is. And there's role-playing pages on there, which tend to be popular with younger fans. You know, you get in the role, you play the person. But usually role-playing pages, like fan pages, have disclaimers. Well, this page had none of that. And the guy comes across, guy, girl, whoever it is, comes across as being this actual celebrity, which I know they're full of crap for the reasons I just stated. You know, it doesn't take much to convince me that this was an actual person acting as someone they aren't. And you're probably also thinking someone in their early 20s should know better than to fall for such a ploy. But you know what? I'm going to tell y'all something. With fans having more access to their favorite stars via the internet, it's also an easy ground for imposters to lead on unsuspecting people of both genders, all economic backgrounds, all ages, and especially if that person who is pulled into something like this comes from, you know, they're in a vulnerable position. And some create poser pages as pranks, or they're just lonely, bored people, maybe wanting more attention. It happens, you know, and they don't mean any harm. But there's others out there. They've been created by predators, posing as everything from teenagers to celebrities, just to bait specific targets. Like I said, you can bring in anyone, especially if they're vulnerable. And I'll tell a personal story. I went through a similar period about 5 years ago. It was during a bad time in my life. I'm not going to get into any details of what I was going through because I don't want to bore you to death. But during that time, I'd found was a page of someone I'd idolized for several years on a social network site. I thought this was actually theirs. You know, especially once I looked it over and everything looked legitimate. The information was correct. It was current. There were both recent and never seen before pictures. I mean, pictures that were never seen anywhere on the internet. I'm thinking, well, this is personal photos no one's ever seen before. Person's got to be real, right? I mean, where else would they get them? Unless, you know, maybe they was a friend being funny or maybe blackmailed them or something. Who knows? But, and the person I contacted on this page, like I said, I'm not going to mention any names because I don't want to embarrass them. They told me things that weren't common knowledge. So, long story short, I thought they were who they said they were, at least in the beginning. So, you know, I talked to this person for about 6 months, and I'm thinking, yeah, maybe this is them. But maybe about 6 months down the road, this person started saying things that either didn't make sense or didn't fit together. So I didn't confront him, never confronted him. But what I did, you know, I'd saved the conversations, and I started doing some research and talked to other people. Well, alarm bells went off in my head when another fan contacted me and said, you know, Lori, the same time you were supposedly talking to this person, they were seen at another location with a group of friends. So there you go. End result, I discovered a few hard truths, and after that, I just cut off all communication with the imposter, blocked them, deleted them from my messenger list, everything. Moral of the story, you know what? I was fortunate to come out of this experience unscathed because I followed my instincts. But there are many people out there who aren't so lucky. And I'm concerned about my Facebook friend because of this. You know. And what's even worse, and you know, it's like it's at the beginning too. So it's common, but they refuse to believe they're communicating with an imposter. Even though this particular page that I told you about earlier had outdated information and 20-year-old pictures, that should give most people an alarm bell right there. Hey, fake, you know? And the truth is, none of us know for sure who we're speaking to online, whether it's an actual celebrity, which in most cases is rare, teenage pranksters, or even a dangerous sex offender in their 50s. You don't know. In any event, I do hope my friend realizes something isn't right and follows on their own instincts the way I did. And something far worse than feelings of betrayal and violated trust happened to him. You know, I don't want anybody to get hurt. I certainly don't want it on my conscience. This is why I try to warn people about things like this. Whether they want to believe me or not, that's their thing. But if you're communicating with someone who eventually raises red flags on your part, don't be afraid to check things out. You know, you might be saving your own life. You might be saving someone else. And if you're a parent of a child or a teenager you think is speaking with such a person, sit down with them. Gather as much information as possible. Have them save the conversations. And especially stress to them not to give out any personal photos or information. Because, like I mentioned on the show last week, a real celebrity's not going to ask for that. They're not even going to private message you. I mean, they probably get like 30,000 private messages and maybe read 3 at the most. I'm just guessing. I don't know. But there's been way too many horror stories about missing persons because they were quote-unquote invited by celebrity imposters and other unscrupulous people. And they lure away their victims with an array of promises. And these victims, most of the time, meet far worse fates. They end up missing. Their bodies are found. I mean, I don't want to be a killjoy here, but we got to face some truths. You know, and this is especially with young women, teenagers, children. That's among your most vulnerable. So please, 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 if you suspect anything, even if it's insignificant, a small thing, check it out. You know, talk to your kids. Use Google. Get on the phone. Do anything. But for heaven's sake, don't give out any personal information. Because again, you don't know who you're talking to. And for heaven's sake, don't send pictures, especially naked ones. You know, and a guy on Facebook said, "Oh, slutty pictures are nice." No, they're not. Now, this is how a lot of young girls get in trouble. I'm not saying it's because of the way they dress or act or anything like that. But not only that, you put slutty pictures on social network sites, those things are going to follow you for the rest of your life, especially if you go to apply for a job. So you want to keep this stuff in mind. But, you know, imposters, spoof pages, they're going to be around. They've been around since the internet started, most likely. But the only thing you can really do is be careful, look over the pages, you know. And the best way you know if it's real or not, if a celebrity endorses it. If they endorse it, you're pretty well safe. You know, check their website, if they have official websites. Sometimes they talk about their page on TV or radio shows. That's the best source. So if they mention they have a page, go there, you're probably safe. If not, you know, hey, if you want to mess with them like I do, you know, that's fine. But again, I'm going to pop up that article I found on last week's show. And if you haven't read it yet, you can look that over, especially if you have kids. You know, it's important. Let me see. I'm going to post that link and tell how you can tell a profile from a real one. Even if it turns out to be an intended hardest prank, you know what? Can't be too careful nowadays. So, you're surfing the net or you're running in the marathon this weekend. Be careful out there. I have a few minutes left, so I want to make sure you all come back tomorrow. Whether it's for the regular afternoon slot at 2 o'clock, or I decide to do an evening show, or I decide to bump it on Friday. Whatever the case, you know, check the Facebook page, you know, look at the wall. I'll post something so you'll know where to tune in. And I want you to have a safe and wonderful afternoon. Enjoy this beautiful day, what we have left of it. Have a wonderful weekend. Take care.